Did you know for the cabin in the woods during the lake scene, the only student not to jump into the lake is Marty, who remains fully clothed on the dock? This was partially due to Fran Kranz noticeably being in as good, if not better, shape than the other male students. In the commentary for the film, the writers joke that he was ripped like muscular Jesus and assert that if Marty were shown being that fit, it would ruin the character. This is partly also why Marty wears baggier clothes than the other students. 2. The movie's opening was a deliberate attempt by filmmakers Drew Goddard and Joss Whedon to confuse the audience and make them think they walked in to see the wrong movie. 3. Drew Goddard and Joss Whedon wrote the screenplay for themselves after both came off failed film projects. They locked themselves up in a hotel room in order to challenge themselves and wrote almost the entire script in one weekend. After the film was shelved due to the studio's bankruptcy, Lionsgate saw the finished film, loved it, and picked it up for release. 4. According to the director, the scene that tested highest with audiences was the merman sequence. Did you know for the Rocky Horror Picture Show, Patricia Quinn only took a role in the play because she loved the opening song Science Fiction, double feature. She was upset when she didn't get to sing the song in this movie, but agreed to lip-sync the words as the pair of red lips in the beginning, with vocals by Richard O'Brien. 2. When this movie first opened, it had a traditional release, with afternoon and early evening screenings. It bombed. Meatloaf said he attended an opening week performance with writer and director Jim Sharman in the Midwest, and the theater was empty except for them. Midnight screenings became popular in the mid-1970s, and word of mouth began to spread that the midnight audience might enjoy this movie. It began showing at midnight in a few cities and became so popular that it has been shown continuously in movie theaters since 1975, making it the longest theatrical run in history. The Museum Lichtspiele Cinema in Munich, Germany, has screened the movie every week since June 24, 1977, offering special RHPS kits to enable celebrations during the show. The kits contain a biscuit, rice, a whistle, a candle for There's a Light, and a sheet of paper with instructions for the time warp. Did you know for Death Becomes Her, a pneumatic bra was built to create the effect where Meryl Streep's chest appears higher and firmer after drinking the potion, but the effect didn't look realistic enough. To achieve the shot, Streep's dresser stood behind her, out of sight of the camera, and adjusted her figure into position. 2. Meryl Streep accidentally scarred Goldie Hawn's cheek with a shovel during the fight scene. 3. Meryl Streep wasn't thrilled that the film relied heavily on visual effects. Streep claimed that shooting the film was like going to the dentist and declared it her first, last, and only VFX-driven film. 4. In several scenes toward the end of the film, references to deceased musicians and actors are visible. When Ernest Menville falls through the glass roof and lands in the pool, Jim Morrison is visible, with a girl. Later on, an extra playing James Dean turns around with his signature hairdo as Ernest steals his gray Spider. During the big welcome address at the ball, Elvis Presley is scolded for making random public appearances, an urban myth long held by his fans that think he's still alive but hiding from the public eye. Did you know for the Addams Family, after the movie premiered, children would frequently recognize Raul Julia as Gomez Addams out in public, which according to him, always brought a smile to his face. Julia stated that Gomez Addams was by far his favorite role, and his family said this recognition was especially meaningful to him in the final months of his life, because he loved performing for children and making them happy whenever the opportunity presented itself. 2. Wednesday Addams is one of Christina Ricci's favorite roles. 3. Sir Anthony Hopkins turned down the role of Uncle Fester. 4. The actors were concerned about the ambiguity of the Big Fester storyline. Initially, it was going to be unknown if Gordon, the man suffering from memory loss who looks just like Uncle Fester, was actually Fester. The cast members nominated Christina Ricci to give an impassioned plea to Scott Rudin and Barry Sonnenfeld 2 weeks before shooting that Fester should not be an imposter. Sonnenfeld remembered that the only cast member to not care was Christopher Lloyd, the man playing Fester. Did you know for Ghostbusters II, Bill Murray said in an April 2021 interview that he and the other cast members signed on to this film based on a script they didn't use. Ghostbusters 2 ended up not being the story they wrote. They got us in the sequel under false pretenses. Harold had this great idea, but by the time we got to shooting it, I showed up on set and went, "What the hell is this? What is this thing?" But we were already shooting it, so we had to figure out how to make it work. 2. Because the cartoon The Real Ghostbusters was so popular among children, Ivan Reitman, Dan Aykroyd, and Harold Ramis made a conscious effort to tone down the adult innuendo and behaviors from Ghostbusters. All of the Ghostbusters gave up smoking, except for a few scenes where Ray has in his hand or in his mouth, and the ghosts took on appearances closer to those in the animated series, rather than the more frightening effects of the first film. 3. Bill Murray told Entertainment Weekly that he was very disappointed with the way that the film turned out. He commented that those special effects guys took over. It was too much of the slime and not enough of us. Did you know for Misery, Stephen King was quite impressed with Kathy Bates's performance in this film, so much so that he later wrote 2 more roles for her. The title role in his novel Dolores Claiborne was written with Bates in mind, and Bates later starred in the film adaptation of Dolores Claiborne. King also wrote the script for the TV miniseries The Stand. His original novel featured a male character named Ray Flowers. Upon hearing that Bates wanted to be involved in the miniseries, King rewrote the part as a woman named Ray Flowers, just so Bates could play the part. 2. James Caan once showed up to the set hungover, and all of the scenes he shot that day were unusable. Rob Reiner told Caan he had to do the scenes again because there was a problem at the lab. When Caan learned it had nothing to do with labs, he offered to cover the money he lost the studio. 3. Jack Nicholson was offered the role of Paul Sheldon, but passed because he was not sure he wanted to do another movie based on one of Stephen King's novels, after what he had experienced with Stanley Kubrick on The Shining. Did you know for The Lighthouse, Willem Dafoe and Robert Pattinson stated that they barely spoke a word to each other on set, and were too exhausted to hang out together after a day of shooting, because filming was so physically demanding due to the miserable weather conditions. While Pattinson stayed at a normal hotel with the rest of the film crew during the shoot, Dafoe lived in a little fisherman's cottage in solitude. On set, on the other hand, Pattinson would tend to eat and stay by himself during filming breaks, while Dafoe stayed with the crew. Both stated that they liked each other very much as soon as they had their first real conversation a few months later. 2. The scene where Willem Dafoe's character gives the sea curse to Robert Pattinson's character because he doesn't like his cooked lobster was shot in one single take. According to director Robert Eggers, Dafoe didn't blink for over 2 minutes. 3. Robert Pattinson's and Willem Dafoe's facial hair was all real. However, Pattinson had to dye his mustache dark because he's naturally dark blonde. Dafoe's bad teeth were a prosthetic. Did you know for Monster House, this film was Robert Zemeckis and Steven Spielberg's first production together in 16 years since Back to the Future Part 3. 2. The tricycle scene at the beginning of the movie is an homage to Stanley Kubrick's film rendition of Stephen King's The Shining. Homages to various Stephen King stories abound. The idea of a house that comes alive and eats people can be found in the 3rd installment of King's Dark Tower series, The Wastelands. And while in the house's basement, Chowder shines his flashlight on a mechanical monkey, much like the one found in King's short story, The Monkey, collected in Skeleton Crew. 3. In a common practice for pre-production, director Gil Keenan made a list of all the actors he envisioned to play each character in the movie, but prepared no backup actors in case somebody declined their role. Producer Robert Zemeckis advised Keenan to prepare a list of backup actors, but Keenan was sure he could convince everyone in mind to accept their respective roles. Shockingly, every single one of Keenan's first choices accepted their roles, which Zemeckis had never seen happen before in his 40-year filmmaking career.